Main Event Madness proudly presents, coming to you from the land down under, Sydney, Australia, and Naugatuck, Connecticut in the US of A. This is Wrestling's Rope Break. Here are your hosts, Joel the Man O'Brien and Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov.
Well, hello wrestling fans and welcome to Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of 5. It is February 19th, 2015 here on Main Event Madness Radio. I am Joel the Man O'Brien, coming to you like I always do from the land down under, Sydney, Australia. And joining us as he does every single Thursday night is my partner in crime, ProWrestlingPowerhouses.com's editor-in-chief, Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov. And Eron, are you ready for WWE Fastlane this coming Monday?
I'm fired up, man. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Triple H and Sting and Reigns and Bryan. We've been off the air for a week and a half, so it's good to be back. Yeah,
absolutely. It's great to be back. Sorry for the inconveniences of not having an episode up last week. Just time differences and a lot of other unforeseen circumstances come up. But, you know, it is what it is. Life sometimes takes over, and when it does, you just have to kind of readjust on the fly. So we're glad to have you here on this Thursday, the Thursday before WWE Fastlane. We're going to be with you for the next hour, talking all the major news, shows, angles, matches from the past and present, exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. So, what have we got in store for you tonight? As previously mentioned, WWE Fastlane is only 4 nights away. And we're here to give you our usual breakdown and predictions of WWE's last pay-per-view for the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania 31, which we will be representing live for the website, for the radio show, from the 26th of March all the way to the Raw the next week. So that's something definitely to look forward to. Even though we weren't able to provide you with a full rundown of NXT TakeOver Arrival, fear not, me and Eron are here tonight to give you our brief thoughts of an event that still got everyone talking. Our Shawn Michaels vs. Chris Jericho 2008 feel is infused into our quintessential podcast and our Why It Works segment for this week, so definitely hang around for that. Plus, we have so much more coming your way to talk about, but remember, if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Outbreak, and follow Main Event Madness on Spreaker, and that way you can stay in touch with the past, present, and future episodes of Wrestling's Rope Break. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break to not only stay in tune with the show, but also see what me and Eron are up to in the world of pro wrestling via our articles and other writing ventures. And if you're on the net, you might as well bookmark Main Event Madness and wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. That's wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com, so you, the listener, can get a holistic, die-hard Wrestling's Rope Break experience. Now, for those who don't know already, I have currently just taken up a sabbatical from any alcohol in my system. I'm taking up a whole new healthy lifestyle, and I'm doing it all the way up to WrestleMania 31. So I'm calling it the Dry Road to WrestleMania. I'm actually doing it for charity. I'm doing it for a group in Australia called the Benevolent Society. It's a non-profit organization that takes care of disadvantaged children and families that are going through a tough time, be it socially, be it financially. They educate kids that haven't got the money to go to proper schools, and they educate families on how to be better families. So it's a really worthwhile cause. If you go to donateplanet.com, and search Dry Road to WrestleMania, you'll find all the details. It's a simple click. You send some money via your debit card from your bank account. It's all tax refundable after $2. Any amount from you guys would be fantastic. It's for a great cause. I'm going without alcohol. I'm doing a blog every single Sunday on facebook.com /Wrestling's Rope Break. I'm posting up there every Sunday, just saying how my track is going, like if I'm losing my weight, my healthy lifestyle, what I'm doing, what I'm eating. So if you're kind of like if you want some inspiration for yourself, definitely check it out. That's the Dry Road to WrestleMania. Go to donateplanet.com and type in Dry Road to WrestleMania. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, #Dry Road to Mania. Okay, Eron. Now, Eron's been a busy bee in regards to not only PWP, Pro Wrestling Powerhouse, but also his own ER report, which has made its debut in the last week on Wrestling Soup, is it?
Wrestling Smash.
Wrestling Smash. Yeah, so just give us a bit of details about it, man.
Well, WrestlingSmash.com is I guess, affiliate of ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. They cover mixed martial arts, UFC, WWE, all that stuff. And the great Greg DeMarco has given me a spot on Thursday nights, the same nights that this airs. But it's at 10 o'clock p.m. So if you if you are up to it and you want to listen to more of, my personal rants about professional wrestling and sports and just whatever's on my mind, whether it's movies, TV, pop culture, anything like that, you can go to WrestlingSmash.com and you can go to blogtalkradio.com/WrestlingSmash.
There you go, guys. It's very easy to find. It's really great. Even more of an insight into what Eron's thinking about not only pro wrestling, but also anything sports related. So definitely check it out. All right, the hot topics. So we're going to change up the layout a little bit from here on out. We're going to just be doing this week's hot topics. 4 big points coming out of the last few weeks. And we're going to start off, obviously, with WWE Fastlane. It's approaching. It's 4 nights away. It's almost here. Let's just go through the match card. First of all, obviously, Eron, what did you think of the actual build to this show? Because to be honest, I don't know if it has been the best build to a pre-WrestleMania card.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did a nice job this past week on Raw, kind of adding some matches, because going into Raw, there were only 3 announced matches in general. So they added a couple more. They added a couple more on SmackDown. So I think the build has been good. I think they've done a nice job of putting the spotlight around Reigns and Daniel Bryan, which is always a good thing when they, preface or spotlight 2 guys that, are kind of not newer to the main event scene, but up and comers and main event caliber talent. So I think that's really good. I think the John Cena and Rusev feud has kind of been built up very well. And they haven't really gotten much TV time. If you really think about it, the last couple of weeks, they've been given 1 segment either at the start or in the middle of the show, where they just, have a couple minute segment and that's about it. So it's very interesting to see how that feud kind of built up as far as that goes. And of course, the Triple H and Sting stuff has been incredible in my opinion. I think they've done such a good job of making this encounter. We've got to remember, this is not even a match. It's just these 2 guys going face to face, and it's probably the thing I'm most excited about going into Fastlane. And they've done such a good job of not having Sting on TV, but still making this almost must watch going into Fastlane.
It has nothing to do with you being a massive Triple H mark, does it?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, guys, let's just run down the card from top to bottom. Obviously, the main event is going to be Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Winner goes on to the main event of WrestleMania 31. Obviously, all eyes are going to be focused on this one. A lot of questions in regards to WWE Creative. Are they going to pull the trigger on it? Are they going to pull the trigger on Bryan? Are they going to stay on course with Reigns? Or are they going to be doing what has been rumored to be another 3-way for the championship at WrestleMania 31, including, obviously, the champion, Brock Lesnar? I'm predicting this match. Well, I'm actually thinking that the 3-way is going to still happen. So I'm thinking this match is going to be thrown out due to some kind of bullshit. Maybe it be Big Show, maybe it be Kane. It's going to be a risky kind of finish, obviously, for the building that is going to host this pay-per-view. But we're going to see what happens. Really, I tell you what, this feud has done pretty much no one any favors. 2 baby faces, as it is, going head-to-head is always a risky kind of move. The one that comes to mind that worked, obviously, was Austin versus Rock, because these guys were at such a level that it didn't matter that they were facing each other. They were still just as hot. They weren't going to kill each other's heat. When you're dealing with the undercooked Roman Reigns and a Daniel Bryan character that is pretty much been overexposed over the last few weeks, I'm talking in regards to multiple segments, kind of killing each other's heat has been kind of like a regular thing. I did love the way it finished. I loved the brawl at the end of Raw. I thought it was a really, really heated thing. It's almost like WWE just kind of switched on their thinking hat for last week's Raw, for this week's Raw, and realize, hey, we actually should just make it about mind games and about these two trying to one-up themselves going into the pay-per-view, because really, at the end of the day, no one wants to see an authority figure, a heel authority figure, mingle with baby faces, like Road to WrestleMania, and let these two guys just to show intensity for the fact that they want to both main event WrestleMania. I think they kind of hit the nail on the head on the Go Home show. But before that, it's been pretty goddamn average. What have you been thinking about it, Eron?
Yeah, and you made the comparison that, it kind of reminds you of the Austin and Rock feud. It reminds me more, and this is maybe just an age thing, but it reminds me a little more of John Cena and Shawn Michaels going into WrestleMania 23, and we kind of talked about it off the air, where it'd be incredible if these two won the tag titles and just to kind of emulate that feud in general. But like you said,
it wouldn't be great at all, because that was
it wouldn't be great. It would be awful. But like you said,
so I just want to say they kind of did it anyway, because if you remember SmackDown last week, they did tag team turmoil, right? And pretty much a makeshift tag team that couldn't get along versus Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan pretty much ran roughshod through the whole tag team division. They even beat the tag champions. So they kind of did what we said.
You're kind of right, actually. Yeah,
I
didn't think about that. Yeah, but as far as this feud goes, you kind of praised the final segment. I was a little more skeptical, and maybe this is just me being a nitpicker, and I always look at the little things, and maybe I get hung up on them a little too much. But I thought the brawl at the end was very sloppy, and it kind of it stopped and it started, and it didn't really have any flow to the. Usually, you see like a certain formula to a brawl like that. You have them kind of be pulled apart, back together, pulled apart, back together. This was just kind of just a mess almost. And toward the end, when they were going off the air, it kind of and like I said, I'm nitpicking the hell out of it. But when Daniel Bryan was standing on top of the announce table, there was nothing from stopping him from jumping off the announce table and running after Reigns again. So it didn't make a lot of logical sense. And I'm a big person of don't insult my intelligence, treat me like like I have a brain. And when I looked at that, it kind of. I don't know, it kind of insulted my intelligence, but I do understand the reason for it. I understand why they decided to go with that kind of brawl sequence. But you think after looking at that brawl sequence, you think like this was a 10-month blood feud where these two guys couldn't wait to get their hands on each other. Like you said, a week before they were tag teaming on SmackDown. So it's like you have these kind of polar opposites of this feud. And I don't know. I'm excited for the match, though. I think the match is going to be incredible. I'm going with, and here's a shocker, I'm going to go with Roman Reigns to beat Daniel Bryan somehow, and I think they go with Reigns and Lesnar at WrestleMania. Now, there's been rumors, like you said, of Daniel Bryan, being added to the match and all this stuff, but I'm not so sure still. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but don't get me wrong. I think he could still somehow be added to the match.
We've seen it many times in the past. Remember
exactly.
Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and Angle. Like
yep.
Rey Mysterio lost his title shot, and then with no way out, and then just got added to the match. So this could happen again.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Reigns. I think Reigns goes over on Daniel Bryan, and I think the crowd won't be that big of a factor because they're in Memphis, and Memphis isn't really a kind of, and no offense to anybody in Memphis, but Memphis isn't really smart crowd. They're more of just a kind of generic, city they go to where they don't really get too much of those smart fans. So that'll be interesting.
So you think it's going to be a 50-50 kind of reaction for both guys, do you think?
Absolutely.
That's going to be very interesting. Very quickly, when it comes down to that brawl, I think it was a combination of these guys being forced to team with each other. There's obviously a little bit of animosity has been all the way through this whole thing. And pretty much it got to boiling point when both men were interfering in each other's matches. By the way, those matches were god-awful. Those finishes were god-awful. I'm sick of WWE giving us matches where they give us 12, 13 minutes with a bullshit finish. I don't want to see Roman Reigns beat Kane via count-out. I don't want to see... the finish to Bryan versus Show kind of made a little bit more sense because Reigns was paying him back. But yeah. regardless, it's going to be a very interesting kind of culmination. Obviously, I can't put my finger on who's going to win. I'm still thinking the match is going to be thrown out somehow, or a non-finish, or a double count, or a double pin, or something like that. If that's the case, we're going to see a three-way. Or
just be weary that the last couple weeks they've hinted at the return of Sheamus. And remember the feud that we were talking about? Exactly. So they haven't said when he's returning. So don't be surprised if we see Sheamus get involved somehow in this match.
I hope not.
I think everyone hopes not.
From a technical wrestling standpoint, it's going to be an awesome match if they give it time, because if I remember Extreme Rules 2012, when they had that 2 out of 3 falls match and how awesome that match was. But we will see. Rusev versus Cena. You mentioned it before, how this has been probably a very well-booked feud. I will go as far to say it's probably the best feud in WWE right now. And I think it's a very simple, logical storyline involving a grizzled old veteran now having to face the young, hungry beast in Rusev. And listen, there's arguments out there that have been frowning upon this, saying, well, why is John Cena being put over as an old man? It doesn't really make sense when he's still, 35 and he's still in his youth, and, well, technically in his youth in regards to years. You could definitely make that argument, but if you just take that away and see him as the veteran in WWE, he is the oldest veteran, active veteran right now, next to Randy Orton. So, I get where it's coming from. I thought the way they've done this has been very, very good. People can shit on the fact that Rusev got taken out by John Cena on the Go Home show. So why is there a reason why we need to see them fight again? I usually agree with you, but in regards to this, I like it. I think they show that there's a chink in Rusev's armor, that he can be beaten, that he can be knocked out. So they're going to give John Cena a little bit of hope. Again, the finish of this kind of depends on where they're going to go after WrestleMania. Are we going to see a match number 2 of this? Is that their plan? Or are they getting this match out of the way so they can use John Cena for something else in WrestleMania? I'm not sure. But maybe, hey, you said Sheamus is coming back. Maybe he interferes against John Cena and goes John Cena versus Sheamus at WrestleMania. I haven't seen that for a while. Well, I don't really remember their matches that well from 2010. So 2010, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it. No, but anyway, I'm thinking it's going to be a DQ job by Rusev. He's going to get himself intentionally disqualified, and he's going to put John Cena on the shelf, and there's going to be a stretcher job after the match. That is my prediction.
Okay. But let's think about your 2 predictions so far. Ready? You have Reigns and Bryan ending in some kind of weird shenanigan finish, and then you have this one ending in a weird shenanigan finish. So it's just on the look of it right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be a very good card, because we're going to get 2 kind of BS finishes. So I don't know. This feud, like you said, has been probably the best one leading into Fastlane. But the funny thing is, it's probably gotten the least amount of time on TV, which says a lot about Cena and Rusev and being able to put this feud over. Mm-hmm. A lot of people had, like you said, had a problem with Cena going over and kind of destroying Rusev. But I think that was great. I think it makes Cena look very strong going into Fastlane, which is going to be even better when Rusev ends up beating him, whether it's DQ or however they decide to do it. Mm-hmm. There's been rumblings and rumors that they're going to go ahead and do this match again at WrestleMania with some kind of twist, with maybe Hulk Hogan being a referee or something like that, because a lot of people are saying that they're not going to go with this match like it is at WrestleMania. There's going to be some kind of added stipulation or added, something to add to this match. They're not going to do this twice, 2 pay-per-views, especially.
Exactly.
They rarely do repeats at WrestleMania. So, but I'm going to go with Rusev like you. I think they're going to do some kind of DQ count out, something where Cena, gets caught on the outside or something and loses, leading up to a Cena Rusev 2, where Cena has to redeem America and all that stuff. Or John Cena. Yeah,
well, I don't know if it's going to be about redeeming America, because I think it's been a lot about John Cena's actual physical standpoint at this stage in his career, and I like that. I like the fact that they're emphasizing something different about Rusev instead of just the foreign heel gimmick. It's now all about Rusev just being a beast and putting that over more than the foreign gimmick. So which is good. Triple H versus Sting. It's confrontation. A it's going to be a moment where Triple H, mind you, calls out Sting. This has been a very bipolar kind of storyline, and by what I mean by that is that on one side it's been well executed in regards to the promos, in regards to the use of like legends like Ric Flair, like we saw last Monday Night on Raw. But at the same time, you have to wonder who's the babyface in all this. Now, I've really loved Triple H's impassioned promos for the last 2 weeks. Well delivered, full of energy, gets you into the match. And the way Sting has accepted and the way they've used Sting I loved it. It's been great. It really gets you. It's something different on WWE television, and it gets you in straight away. But Triple H's promos have been so babyface orientated. Like, I grew up watching the Invasion angles of 2001, and I started watching WWE in 1998. We were drilled over and over into our minds that WCW is the enemy and WWE is the hero. And now Triple H comes out in 2015 and promotes this whole idea of WCW versus WWE, and how Triple H has been in the company for all these years, and how he's defending the honor of WWE. It makes you completely and utterly forget all the dastardly things that Triple H has done. And maybe that's the problem, because I think WWE wants you to remember that Triple H is still the leader of the authority. But God damn it, like, I'm getting behind Triple H on this one. He's making all these valid points about how he had a part in the Attitude Era, and how that got rid of WCW, and how Triple H feels a soft spot for the fact that Ric Flair's career was almost like tarnished by Sting's involvement all those years ago, and how he's defending Ric Flair. He's the biggest babyface right now, and he's calling Sting out, who's the coward who hasn't done anything. It's very, very weird, but yet I'm still kind of looking forward to it. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Well, obviously, I've got a hard-on for this segment. I mean, I think this is going to be the best thing.
Did you say what?
I'm sorry?
You have a hard-on for this segment?
Well, I think this is the best segment coming into Fastlane. I think this is the segment I'm most looking forward to.
Listen, my penis isn't affected by this rivalry. Let's just make that clear.
That was just an expression.
Oh, okay,
guys.
okay.
I think I think you're the only one that took it that way.
Let's find out, shall we? Continue. What do you think?
Okay. So Sting and Triple H. As far as predictions for what's going to happen at Fastlane, I hope there's no physical contact. I really do. I hope there's no physical, type of Scorpion Death Drop, no pedigree, nothing like that. I don't want anything like that.
It's going to happen.
No, I don't want anything like that. I want Triple H in the ring calling out Sting. I want Sting to come out, or even better, I'd rather have Sting just appear in the ring. Lights go out, he appears, Triple H turns around, there's Sting. Maybe even have Triple H fall again like he did with fake Sting. And I'd like to see them just go face to face. I'd like to hear Sting's side. I'd like to hear Sting talk. I mean, that would be ideal to explain why he's going after Triple H and all that stuff. And I think the perfect thing for me, like I said, was to have Sting come in the ring, Triple H turn around, get scared, have them talk about why they're going after each other and stuff. Then have Triple H, because Triple H is known as always having a plan B and always thinking one step ahead. Have Triple H have the Authority come out or surround the ring while Sting's in the ring. And then as the Authority is about to get into the ring and attack Sting, the lights can go out and Sting can disappear again. So I think there's a lot you can do with this segment. I think there's a lot you can do to build up to WrestleMania and the eventual contact between the two.
Is there really? Because I was thinking that, what are they going to do for the next 6 weeks? I'm not exactly sure.
That's the thing. That's why I think you need to save this physical contact. If you already give it away of having Sting do something to Triple H, or even Triple H do something to Sting, it kind of takes away from the next 6 weeks of building up to WrestleMania. So, but as you were saying, the Triple H promos have been really key. And there's been this thing with Triple H the last couple years where there's two Triple H's. There's the Authority Triple H, and then there's the babyface Triple H that runs NXT and tells you how much he loves the business. It's hard to distinguish which one is out there. You can tell when Triple H goes out there as the NXT guy that holds the WWE flag high in the air. He always comes out alone. Whereas when he's the Authority character, he comes out with Stephanie and the Authority. So there's almost two different Triple H's. Now, like you said, for me, growing up as a WWE guy, growing up as a Triple H guy, for what reason do I want to see Sting beat up Triple H? For what reason would I be cheering or rooting for Sting in this feud? So maybe the promos by Triple H are intentionally trying to make you pick a side, and when they eventually face at WrestleMania, there are going to be some that are cheering for Triple H and some that are going to be cheering for Sting. But I think it's going to be interesting, and this is easily the feud I'm looking most forward to going into Mania.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be the feud I'm looking forward to most. I'll be able to tell you that after the
right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right now, it's got the most. It's got the most behind it. I wonder why, because they've been building up since Survivor Series. It's. I've always said that long, slow burn feuds are the ways to get fans invested in the content. I think we're going to see physicality on Sunday between these two. I like the fact they're building up as a confrontation. Any kind of confrontation I've seen in WWE lore usually ends up in physicality. And again, I'm predicting that Sting might be laid out by the Authority. I'm not sure, maybe, but we'll see. Dean Ambrose versus Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm picking Ambrose in this one. I think it goes without saying. A lot to talk about here, but first of all, I just want to say about this contract insanity. Dean Ambrose has been trying to get Wade Barrett to sign a contract to face him for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this story would be all fine and dandy if we haven't seen many superstars and divas win number one contender matches by beating the champion. We've seen it over and over and over again. Like, Sin Cara beat Wade Barrett, actually, a few like about a month ago, and got a championship match out of it. So why is it that Dean Ambrose did the same thing, and he has to, like, absolutely bully Wade Barrett into signing out this contract? I do not get it. Like, it'd be one thing if, like, Wade Barrett has cheated his way in every single Dean Ambrose match, and there'd be, like, everyone knows that he can beat him, and he has to force his signature to prove that he actually can beat him at the pay-per-view. That would be fine. But he's beaten him. He doesn't have to bully Wade Barrett into a championship match. He already has it. I just think it's so stupid, and I hated the Saturday Night Live clip with him as well. I know. I hated it. This is not Dean Ambrose. I've been through this every single week. It's not how you promote Dean Ambrose. I just like, ugh. Then he has this awesome match against Luke Harper. Great match. You should check it out from last Monday Night on Raw if you haven't already. Like, that's the Dean Ambrose I want to see. I don't know. I'm going to get on a rant about it, but Ambrose to win. That's my prediction.
I'm with you. I think Ambrose wins the IC title. I don't know. I'm optimistic, and maybe I shouldn't be. After seeing what they did with Ziggler, with the IC title for that short amount of time, for that like 2-month span around Survivor Series, I'm a little optimistic that they'll treat Ambrose as a top-tier talent and a top-tier champion. But then, of course, we saw what happened with Ziggler, kind of, fading out. But that has a lot to do with his mouth and getting involved in backstage politics again, which we won't really dive into too much, but
yeah,
I think Ambrose could have a similar run to Ziggler when he was being treated as a top guy almost, and kind of a fighting champion, and always defending the title whenever and wherever. I found Dean Ambrose funny with the because I'm a huge SNL fan. I watched the SNL 40 this past Sunday and loved every bit of it, and I found it a little topical, and WWE always loves to kind of mix themselves into the mainstream media with whatever. They're so corny when they do stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm optimistic about Ambrose. I think this is a good feud for him, and I hope they treat him like a champion. Of course, every Aaron, piece of evidence is against me in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
I'm optimistic.
If you really want to just pull it apart, maybe you can say, like, hey, they're actually pushing the US Championship and the Intercontinental Championship because Dean Ambrose is a big-time babyface and John Cena is the biggest babyface in the company, and they're both fighting for the US Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. Yes, great, but I don't think so. I think Ambrose is destined to lose like he has been all this time, and I hate this feud, and I want it to end. I'm saying that because no one's going to benefit from this in the long run. What, you think Wade Barrett's going to benefit from this? Anyway, Paige versus Nikki Bella for the Divas Championship. Let's just keep this short and sweet.
Yeah.
Nikki to retain. Listen, it's been simple content all the way through. The two sisters bullying on the ugly duckling in this regard is not Natalya, it's Paige. It's uninspired booking. I changed the channel now on Divas matches. There was a time where Paige and AJ were feuding when they first feuded, and I was watching most of their segments. They were good. Now it's just back to this standard 2 minutes boring matches, and Paige versus Summer Rae did not help matters last Monday Night Raw. So Nikki Bella to retain.
Yeah, same here. Nikki Bella to retain. I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't.
That sums it up, ladies and gentlemen. I love to get in the Divas matches, but this is not NXT. It's not NXT. Usos versus Kid and Cesaro for the Tag Team Championships. Listen, this is going to be my match of the night. I'm putting it out there right now. They're going to open with this, most likely, I think, as me and Aaron discussed off air, and it's going to be great. Give these guys 13, 15 minutes as a really good, solid tag team opener. Again, I wish they had another different formula when it came to building up tag team title matches these days, instead of having these guys wrestle against each other over and over again. Regardless, it's Kid and Cesaro. They're innovative. They'll make things look different, feel different. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Cesaro and Kid. Why not? I think the fact Tyson Kidd gimmick is interesting. They're really teasing this Natalya breakup, but I think it's gonna play out a little bit longer, and they're gonna lose the tag titles eventually. But yeah, can Cesaro to win?
This one is kind of confusing because I don't know what they want to do with the tag titles going into Mania. You know, we've got, and we didn't really talk about it yet because it just hasn't come up yet. But the primetime players getting back together on Raw adds a new element to the tag team division, which I'm all for, and I love that they did that and are adding a new tag team because it's sorely needed, especially with the Rhodes brothers breaking up. But I don't know what they want to do with this tag team division. I mean, the Usos retain here, but who do they face at Mania? Do they face the Ascension? But the Ascension look like they're going to feud with primetime players now. It's like this tag team division always delivers solid matches, but they never have any direction.
Not always.
No, they do. For the most part, on pay-per-views especially.
Name me one tag team match on a pay-per-view that doesn't involve the Usos that has gone over well.
Okay, well that's handicapping me because I'm saying the Usos.
It's a one tag team division, man.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and I think when the Usos are involved, it's pretty much always a good match. I think Kid and Cesaro getting the spotlight is great, and I love that they're at least WWE's putting them together and saying, if you want to be on TV so bad, here you go, prove us wrong that and I love that. I'd love to go with Kid and Cesaro, but where do they go after this? I mean, who do they feud with? What happens with them? I'm just going to go with the Usos to retain because that's a safe pick, and I just think they're going to retain.
Actually, I'll go with the Usos too. I'm going to swap it. I wish they could win,
especially with them going into Mania with Rikishi going into the Hall of Fame. I think they're going to be tag champions going to WrestleMania.
Yep. Okay, then the final match on WWE Fastlane, which is going to be announced this week on SmackDown: Stardust versus Goldust. We saw the remnants of how this happened on Raw. The combination kind of happened with Dusty Rhodes. This is 3 years in the making, pretty much. This is something that Cody and Dustin have been wanting to have happen for ages. There's talk about having it happen at WrestleMania 28 with the Intercontinental Championship. Now we're going to get it, apparently, on Fastlane and not on WrestleMania, and it's kind of a shame. I mean, I would have liked this kind of like to be not a main event match, but a match on the card at WrestleMania. In regards to who wins, I guess I'm not sure. I mean, I guess maybe Stardust wins, I guess, but it kind of feels like it's a bit undercooked, this one. What do you think, Aaron?
It's just too fast. They just started it last week, and now they're gonna have a match this week. It's like it's like they're really trying to push this. It looks like they're just trying to get this out of the way to move on with either Stardust or Goldust. I think Stardust wins easily because it's. I don't think Goldust would want to go over on his brother. That doesn't make much sense considering he's the old veteran I think Stardust goes over. This whole feud is just too late. It's 2 years too late. This should have happened a couple years ago, and then now they're just trying to, I guess, salvage what's left of it.
Yeah.
But I think the match is going to be tremendous. I really do. I think the match itself is going to be great. Both great workers. I think the match itself is going to be good, but the feud and the storyline is just not there for me because it seems a bit forced and rushed.
Yeah, I think rush is the key word here. I mean, you could definitely have some kind of... Unless they've got something... See, that's the thing, though, with WWE right now. Do they have plans for Cody and Goldust going to WrestleMania? Is that why they're rushing to this feud? Like, I don't think so. So why don't they just take their time and have the Dusty Rhodes intervention maybe, like, next week on Raw, or the 2 weeks, because they've got 6 weeks of television, 5 or 6 weeks of television to fill coming up to Mania. Why not play it out? You don't have to always rush things to pay-per-views to fill them out. So that's our WWE Fastlane predictions, everybody. I don't know what kind of show it's going to be, but here's hoping that it's going to be a good final stop on the road to WrestleMania 31, which we will be at live for WrestleMania 31 weekend. We're going to be at, I think an evening with Jim Ross has been added to the schedule of shows that we're going to be going to. Me and Eron are going to be hopefully on nearly every night. We're going to see what happens, doing nightly radio shows covering every day's events, recaps of what the buzz is in Santa Clara, California, what's happening on the streets, what are fans talking about, what are they excited for, any rumors that come out, plus obviously WrestleMania 31, the Raw after WrestleMania, WWE Fan Access, as I said, in with Jim Ross, we've got a Ring of Honor show, and most likely the Evolve show with Drew Galloway as Evolve champion, defending his championship, I think, against Cassius Ohno.
Chris Hero.
Chris Hero. There we go. Yeah. So he'll be on the card for that one. So that is what's coming up for WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, definitely get hyped for that, guys. Okay, so let's just move into NXT TakeOver. Let's keep it brief for this one. Obviously, NXT TakeOver happened last week. The Rival WWE Network special. Let's just run through what I thought about, because obviously we didn't get a chance to do it last week. Kevin Owens is our new NXT champion. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's great in regards to building up Kevin Owens as this serious bully monster threat NXT. There's no one like him on the roster. And the reason there's no one like him is because he's definitely a quintessential heel, because he believes everything he's done is right. The way he's played his card, he's doing it for his family, he's doing it for his son, and his wife, and everything involved in his family. I love it. I love it, because even in that match against Sami Zayn, where he beat the absolute shit out of Sami Zayn, and before that match he said, it's nothing personal, it's all about just business, it's all about just getting the championship. I love it how Sami Zayn got hurt in that match. And when Sami Zayn has seen a hurt competitor before, he's always, taking care of him, giving him space, let the competitor rise to his feet. Not Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens just went on the attack, just was brutalizing Sami Zayn with power bombs. No malice, no content in his face, just absolute brutality going straight forward. And yeah, NXT champion. 2 months into being in NXT, loved it. What did you think of it?
The only concern I had initially was that Sami Zayn's title run ends in 2 months after chasing it for almost the entire year.
There's that, yes, definitely.
And I have no problem with Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens. I wrote a whole piece on him when he got signed to NXT on how he might be somebody that changes the way we look at wrestling in WWE, especially, and being a revolutionary, type of wrestler for them in NXT. And I love Kevin Owens. I think he's great. I think everything about this match was tremendous. I gave it an A+ as far as my match grades, because I said on my own radio show that this match was better than the Balor and Neville match for a bunch of different reasons. The Neville and Balor match was, great technical, high-flying action wrestling. This was a story from the beginning to the end, whether it's from the entrances to the very final fourth powerbomb that was delivered by Kevin Owens. So I think the story was told so well. I think that this feud is going to go well into the summer. I think we'll see multiple. We might see a best of 5 series between these guys. I mean, and I wouldn't be opposed to that either. The only concern I have is that no NXT champion that's lost his title has ever regained it. Mm-hmm. So that tells me that either Sami Zayn's going to be the first to do it, or he's going to continue to lose to Kevin Owens and then eventually be brought up to the main roster.
Maybe that's the way they push him, as being the first ever one to be a 2-time NXT champion in regards to Sami Zayn. So that could definitely happen in the cards. Finn Balor versus Adrian Neville, as you mentioned. Whew. A lot of people have been saying that this was the best WWE match since the 3-way at the Rumble. And before that, there was not a better match in years in WWE. I really liked it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought the last 90 seconds of that match was amazing. The red arrow into the quick cradle into the finish. I thought it was fantastic. The fans were eating it up. But Finn frickin' Balor, this guy is just oozing with megastar potential. And I don't want to hear the fact that Kevin Dunn hates accents on WWE television, and he hates working with it, because I hope to God they make an exception for Finn Balor. That guy is just oozing superstardom. The minute he comes out, he's wrestling, he's selling, his presence in that ring. Jesus Christ, this guy is just going to be such a megastar, and I can't see him being anywhere else but on the main roster.
Yeah.
What do you mean, What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, okay. Well, I think we talked about this before off air. I have a problem with the gimmick and the entrance itself. And I think you kind of agreed with me on the entrance as far as it needs to be tweaked a little bit. There's some moments in the entrance where it's a little awkward and he's kind of caught not doing anything, and it's like and that's fine. It continues to get tweaked. You see every time he comes out, it's a little different each time, which means they're working on it and they'll get it right eventually. I have no problem with that. But the gimmick itself, being somebody that puts on body paint and a headdress, I love it. I think it's great. It's unique. It reminds me a little bit of Bray Wyatt, kind of a dark, mysterious character. I love dark, mysterious characters. But the only way those characters work is if it's a every time thing. And I ranted up to you about this earlier this week, and I think with the body paint and the headdress and the entrance, it needs to be an every time thing. Every time he comes out, he needs to have the body paint, he needs to have the headdress, he needs to sell the gimmick as him being this dark, mysterious character.
But then it's not special.
But that doesn't matter, because it will become special when you see it every time, and then it will become special when he doesn't do it, because then it's be like, whoa, where's his stuff, you know? And I made the comparison earlier to you. That's like the Undertaker coming out at WrestleMania and pay-per-views as the Undertaker with the smoke and the dark music and his hat and his trench coat, but then at Raw and SmackDown he comes out as Mark Calloway. That's the same exact thing, because the gimmick wouldn't work if he wasn't the Undertaker 24/7. That's why he is one of the greatest superstars of all time, and so respected, is because he's been able to keep that character going for 20 plus years, and has been able to kind of harness that gimmick. And that's why I think if Balor can if they give Balor this gimmick of being able to go out there and be that guy every time, his gimmick can go so far, and the gimmick will carry him onto the main roster and into superstardom. Like you said, I think that those things will outcome Kevin Dunn's hatred for accents and all that stuff. So I don't know. That's the only problem I have with Finn Balor, and it's not really my problem with him. It's more my problem with NXT and not making him come out every time as that character and that gimmick.
I don't
like
know.
I said, but once again, it's me nitpicking like I always do. So
yeah, you're in a bit of a nitpicking role here today, I have to say.
Hashtag the little things.
That's funny. But really, like, here's my counter argument for that. So Finn Balor comes out as this crazed, inner character of himself, and he does it on the NXT specials. Yep. Now, leading up to the events, he's just normal Finn Balor, right? Mm-hmm. Well, normal Finn Balor, but from a presentation standpoint, you're fighting the human version of him. Now, if you were like to break this down, and if this was real, and he does this as a competitive kind of like thing, see it like a way of gaining a psychological advantage over your opponent, because all the way up to NXT TakeOver, whatever the event is, you've just been finding the normal version of him. Now he comes out and he's wearing this face paint. It's like I don't know how to combat that, because I've never faced that all the way up to this major event. So from a competitive standpoint, there's that. Plus the fact that, you know, like I would love him to kind of change up his face paint and change up his gear every single special to kind of make the event special in itself, and it's a selling point in itself. Like, oh, what are fans going to expect when he comes out? What are we going to see this time around? I mean, like, yeah, I think it's a psychological mind game kind of thing, and hopefully the announcers start telling us why he just does it for specials and starts tuning into what we're talking about. But regardless, Finn Balor's amazing. And he is easily, like, I think the hottest guy in the company. And I think hopefully the booking from here on in is going to be solid with him being the number one contender. And I'm looking forward to Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor coming up. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we've got Shawn Michaels in part 2 of his interview with Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho, talking the amazing Y2J versus HBK feud from 2008. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
So you're cruising around the internet looking for some entertainment. What if I told you there's a hard-hitting, fresh, and opinionated podcast out there covering everything from WWE and TNA to the NFL, the NBA, and MLB? Well, that's reality. Main Event Madness is here. Don't miss us every week on MainEventMadness.com, as well as on TuneIn Radio and Stitcher.com. Main Event Madness, our wrestling, your sports, simply madness.
MainEventMadness.com. There you have it, everybody. Welcome back. Great radio show. John Curry and Alfonso Marion were really tearing it up hopefully every single week. Sometimes they miss a few weeks, like we do. We are human. But WWE, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, all covered in one show. It's a great 2-3 hours of pro wrestling and sports podcasting. So definitely check it out after you check us out. Okay, so the quintessential podcast for this week, Shawn Michaels, the legendary Shawn Michaels, on Talk is Jericho. This is part 2 of a 2-part interview that we are covering today. He sits down with Chris, shoots the breeze, and it's a definitely must listen. I'm going to give you 2 clips today, but you got to go out of your way and listen to this interview. It's 2 legends pretty much breaking down one of the best feuds that I've ever seen in my time of being a pro wrestling fan, and they actually break down all the different parts and why it worked. Obviously, for those who don't know, we'll probably get into a little more of the details in the why it works section, but obviously Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho feuded all the way through 2008. It involved Shawn Michaels' wife at one point. It involves the World Heavyweight Championship at one point. Everything you wanted in a great feud that was only destined to be a 1-month deal ended up becoming, I think, almost 3 to 4 months of great pro wrestling storytelling. So let's get into the actual interview itself. I'm going to start with the first audio clip talking about blood in professional wrestling. Yes, all those hardcore fans out there that are ECW diehards, we're going to be talking about blood in WWE, why it ended, and what was the catalyst behind it. So let's get into it.
The finish of the match was I trapped you in some kind of Jamie Noble who was always our agent. He was amazing. I caught your arm with my leg, and you were basically trapped. I just kept hitting the head. That was like basically the finish. Yeah. But because you were covered in such blood, it was like really like a massacre. Like stop. Yeah. It was uncomfortable. Yeah. And it was just like, but it was so awesome.
But what about the finish? Was your pin? I mean, at some point in the wrestling business, I don't even know because I went to matches all the time that were disqualifications.
Yeah,
I thought they were awesome. Could care less.
Right.
And I was saying, like, it's like you just ended. Well, but is there a count? It's like there's there's nothing. Right. Okay, it is a referee going, my God, this guy's going to get killed, or he's going to lose his sight. Stop the match. Right. You know, I don't know. Is that different? I mean, like, who's the winner then? Jericho's the winner. I mean, you know what I mean? And there are times that you're going like, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point did this stuff? I mean, honestly, it's like, is this still pro wrestling?
Right.
My God, is it brain surgery?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always got to be a finish. Look, if just because, the internet dude told you there has to be finishes. Okay, you guys want to buy that? That's awesome. All right. In my match right now, I want Chris Jericho to pound my face off, and I want the referee to stop it and go, I'm stopping this. He's supposed to have all authority, isn't he? He stops the match. Shawn can't continue. Chris Jericho wins.
So obviously the match they're talking about is the Great American Bash from 2008. It was the match straight after the infamous Jeritron attack by Chris Jericho, which we'll get into when we get to why it worked. But obviously the match ended with Chris Jericho beating the absolute shit out of Shawn Michaels. He gigged himself to add a bit of color to the match. He gigged himself way too much, and there was blood everywhere, all over the canvas. And this was the official match in which Vince McMahon declared that there would be no more blood in WWE, and any blood that would be seen would be dealt with on the spot. So, taking that all into consideration, what Shawn Michaels said, Eron, I have to ask, when did blurring the lines pro wrestling, that being, slightly real pro wrestling, become a gimmick in WWE right now? Because it feels like it's almost attached, these kinds of ideas of like ref stoppages and all this kind of brutality, this legitimate brutality that we used to see in wrestling all the time. Why is it now a gimmick in WWE when it comes to 2015?
Well, I think with anything, times change slowly, and things change, and I think Vince has kind of made it clear that he has a certain way of going about things, and I wish that referee stoppages were used a little more. We saw it with Owens and Zayn. I'd love to see that a lot more in WWE's product. I think it'd make a lot more sense. And something that the great Jim Ross has kind of proposed a couple times is to add time limits.
Yes.
I think there's so many different aspects of a way to finish a match that WWE doesn't take advantage of, and part of that is the stoppages and the time limits. So I think it has a lot to do with just WWE's stubbornness to accept change and accept someone else's ideas almost.
Exactly.
Vince is kind of dead set on these certain rules.
It's really, really funny because we talk about old school wrestling and blurring the lines pro wrestling becoming a gimmick, and it's almost like it's been relegated to NXT and sometimes to big time feuds in WWE. We'll probably see a bit of it leading up to WrestleMania with some of the feuds there. But, look at NXT for a great example, right? Look at all the characters that they have. They've got Sami Zayn, who's ridiculously over. Kevin Owens, who's ridiculously over. Adrian Neville, who's ridiculously over. Finn Balor is ridiculously over. Why? Because they hold those pro wrestling fundamentals to heart and they promote it on their show every single week. And that's what's getting these fans invested in the characters, because they're put into semi-believable circumstances. With Owens and Zayn, it was all about the actual legitimate friendship and the road to getting to NXT and how they traveled the road together and how a family and wives and children and how that kind of separated them. It's just like when something's real and when they blur the lines, like we saw in the Jericho Shawn Michaels match, you suspend your disbelief, like the old cliche goes. And in that match, I remember vividly, I was like, stop the match, because Shawn Michaels is so freaking good at selling. It's great. Why don't we see it often? It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be just relegated to one particular gimmick. That's just what I think. But part two of this interview that I really want to play to everyone right here, right now, is an actual very rare piece of audio footage. It's actually audio footage of Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho putting over Vince McMahon and his genius. I know, I couldn't believe it. So I had to record this part of it. Let's have a listen to it and see what everyone thinks.
As we started doing this thing, there were times he would come in and give some incredible advice, because once it started going and blooming, like, he got it. You know what I mean? And he totally got where you were coming from and what I was doing. And there were times, again, even like when there were times we would come back when you and I were doing very quiet promos with each other, and he would say, don't worry about the fact that they're not making any noise, the A's and the Boo's or whatever, because they're listening. You know what I mean? And he would want us to get real close and real quiet with one another and not worry about it. And there were times, to your point of what you're making right now.
That's classic Vince, though. and plus it was hot. That was the hottest thing in the company.
Yeah.
He has, people, Vince is a genius. Vince is a genius because he will come up with little things like, hey, how about you move this water bottle there? Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. Like, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
The other good one was the time we did a contract signing, and he said, I don't want you to look at Shawn. After Rebecca had been punched, we sat down at the table, and you were like, and I just looked away the whole time. I never even gave you the courtesy, or even had the balls to look you in the eyes.
Right.
I just never forget. Like, it's hard to do because we're on camera.
Right. And your instinct is look at the guy that's talking, right?
Yeah. You watch that back, and oh my gosh, do I look like a son of a bitch?
Yeah.
Just like, what a jerk.
Yeah.
I love that moment they're just talking about. It was the moment they were signing their unsanctioned match for Unforgiven 2008. And there was a contract signing, and Chris Jericho didn't ever look at Shawn Michaels after he punched his wife. It's so good. It's just giving me goosebumps. But the question I got for you, Eron, is after everything we've seen in the last year of pro wrestling in WWE, are these genius moments of Vince McMahon becoming few and far between? And can you remember any recent moments where his genius has come through, like Shawn and Chris talked about?
Well, I think it's become the popular thing to bash Vince, and I've done it myself, to bash Vince, Triple H, and saying, that Triple H, when he takes over, it's going to be so much better and all this stuff. No one get mistaken by any comments that people make about Vince McMahon. People understand, and I think everyone understands, that Vince McMahon is a genius. He is the pinnacle of sports entertainment, pro wrestling, whatever you want to call it. And the man has probably the greatest mind for the wrestling business ever. But recently, it's harder to see that genius. And I think the biggest thing is he's kind of fallen out of touch with what we want as wrestling fans. And also, we think we know everything. We think we know everything he does and everything Triple H does and everything that goes on and whose idea was that and whose idea was that. Most of the stuff that we like on WWE TV is Vince. We got to remember, whether it's good or bad on WWE TV, Vince McMahon has the ultimate stamp of approval, and he's the one that okays it. So we've got to all the stuff we bash WWE for or bash the product for. We also have to give praise for the stuff we like, and a lot of that goes to Vince McMahon. So off the top of my head, I can't name a certain incident where Vince McMahon's genius has kind of come through, but we don't know that. We don't know, if he has or hasn't done that. So it's tough to garner if Vince still has it or is still a genius. Vince McMahon will go down as, like I said, the greatest mind in professional wrestling, and I have all the respect in the world for that man.
I've been a big advocate for saying that I've lost faith in Vince in the last year or so, and because obviously there's been a lot of things like the Steve Austin podcast, and I've heard a lot of his own words coming out of his mouth, and it's but I do believe if something's really, really good and really, really hot, he does have a way of kind of harnessing it when the story is kind of naturally and organically grown from the wrestlers themselves, because there was a lot of input from Shawn and Chris from the get-go for that amazing rivalry in 2008. I think as a support role, as a Pat Patterson-esque kind of person that can come in and give great ideas of making things better, I think that's where Vince McMahon's talents are going to lie as we near Triple H's maybe ascension into that kind of role. I think we could definitely see Vince being that kind of advisor role, but as a leader, as a directional leader for WWE content, televised content, I think his days are definitely behind him. And
we have to remember as well, and this point isn't really brought up too much, but Vince McMahon, imagine Vince McMahon, in the early 90s, growing with guys like Taker and Shawn and Rock and Austin and Triple H, probably the best of the best that we've ever seen in this business, okay? They all slowly start to drop off. Taker's getting old, and I think he has lost trust in a lot of his talent that he has currently. And I think it's hard to see all these guys slowly tick off, and he's left with new guys. So I think we don't take that into account as much as we should. That it's like with any human being. We are humans are are people of habit and repetition. We like the same things. We like the same thing over and over again. Once that's broken, we start to kind of unravel. I think that's something similar to the same thing here, where Vince has had these solid guys that he could depend on for decades in Austin, Rock, Triple H, Taker. Now he's got to put his trust and his faith in new guys and find ways to put them over when guys like Michaels and Jericho have been over. He doesn't have to do anything to them. They're already over. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a lot of that, and I think he gets, Vince gets bashed a lot, but in all actuality, the guy's a genius. I mean, there's no way to put it other than that.
Yep, I totally agree. And that is the Quintessential podcast for this week. Definitely check it out. This is 2 excerpts of a almost like hour and a half conversation between these 2 legends. It's great. It's funny. There's so many little intricate things that I never knew about the rivalry. And obviously there's part 1, obviously covering the start of Shawn Michaels' career. And considering Chris Jericho was the biggest Shawn Michaels mark, as much as Triple H is a mark for, as much as Eron is a mark for Triple H, Chris was a mark for Shawn Michaels, and it's a really great interview, so definitely check it out. Tying into this amazing storyline, I had to go with a Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho kind of feel to the Why It Works segment for this week. And the clip that I chose is up on YouTube. It's Shawn Michaels on Chris Jericho's highlight reel in June of 2008. Just put it into your YouTube search bar. There's at least 2 copies of it. Try and go for the 10-minute one. Don't go for the 4-minute one, because you can get the whole segment. If you see the whole segment in its entirety, you really get the feel for what's going on and why it is one of the most amazing segments that I've seen. So why did it work? I loved how the commentators and Jericho's honesty throughout this whole segment built to an amazing heel turn. By the end of the segment, I loved it. I mean, like, you had Jericho coming out and JR putting over all his accomplishments: 8-time Intercontinental Champion, undisputed champion, an amazing guy, had amazing respect for Shawn Michaels, and I loved how Jerry the King Lawler, who usually is a heel, puts over the fact that he's a very young, upstanding young man, and it was all just putting this wheel into motion of Chris Jericho really turning on Shawn Michaels and getting finally overly frustrated with the situation that he was confronting with HBK. And again, like, the build to his question, because it was all like he had one question for the highlight reel for Shawn Michaels. And I loved how he interweaved this whole honest man character that would become synonymous with some of the best work he's ever done in his career. And how, honestly, how he feigned a knee injury and how Shawn Michaels lied to him and no one else about the knee injury. Very quick story, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Chris Jericho feigned a knee injury against Batista at Backlash in a match where Chris Jericho played as the referee. Shawn Michaels lied blatantly about the fact that he actually did have a knee injury when he didn't. It led to a match between the two at Judgment Day 2008 in which Shawn Michaels won. And from there on, it just festered in Chris Jericho to the point where he became a bit of a whiny little bitch, very much like Bret Hart with Stone Cold Steve Austin all those years ago. And it culminated into this moment where he was honestly like, the fans cheer Shawn Michaels no matter what he does. They just cheer for him. Meanwhile, I don't hit JBL with a chair in a match. I get booed because, it's what the fans don't like. And eventually it turns into this one question. How can Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, become such a lying, sniveling, pathetic excuse of a human being? And then, bam. And then the last reason of why it worked was that big moment where Jericho threw Shawn Michaels through the Jeritron 5000, the LED TV that's hanging in the ring, broke his face through the television, all the while Chris Jericho saying the worst is yet to come. This is the quintessential hotshot angle to start off one of the best programs I've seen in pro wrestling since I can remember. What do you think about it, Eron?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit everything as far as everything I was thinking. And then this feud is kind of a model for what I'd like to see a little more of in today's WWE, as far as letting 2 veterans that have been around for a long time just have a feud. It seems like everything we see in today's WWE is it's always about building up a young guy or positioning somebody for taking the next step up, or just this was a classic example of just letting two guys that are storied veterans and Hall of Famers at that point in time just put on the best work of their career. I mean, I said to you before, Chris Jericho's work in this feud was just, the best he's ever done. And I felt like this feud was just tremendous. There's several matches throughout the year was incredible. And I just wish, like I said before, we can see a little more of this in today's WWE.
Yeah, definitely much more of this. This again, it's got all the elements. You got the personal side. You got the fact that Chris Jericho watched up idolizing Shawn Michaels, and how now many years down the line he realizes that Shawn Michaels, as we would learn in the next promo that he would cut, but the fact that he's done all these horrible things, Shawn Michaels, yet everyone cheers him. Yet Chris Jericho is an honest man and admits and shows everything to these people, but they still boo him. And it's just the catalyst for one of the most amazing characters. It's just so easy to hate Shawn Michaels. It's so easy to hate Chris Jericho, because he uses all these big words and he uses this perspective on things that is right. He's got every right to hate Shawn Michaels, but because it's HBK, we can never ever side with Chris Jericho. Great heel. Great basis for a heel, and a great Why It Works segment for this week. Just check it out. So just type in Shawn Michaels on the highlight reel. You'll find it right there, and it is an amazing segment. So check it out if you haven't already. Okay, so to close up the show this week, we've got our spotlight question for this coming week. Eron, let's hear it.
Well, considering that we've got Triple H and Sting going into a WWE versus WCW type feud, I got into a conversation with a couple of people in the PWP group, Pro Wrestling Powerhouse group, on Facebook, and we were talking about Goldberg and the fact that a lot of people dislike Goldberg. There's several different arguments to: is he overrated? Does he garner some unwarranted hatred? Is he and there's several opinions, and I won't make my opinion known here because it might cloud yours. But the spotlight segment this week is Goldberg overrated, or does he garner unwarranted hatred? Let us know what you think on the Twitter account, Wrestling R Break, and of course you can tweet me personally at Aaron_PWP.
Cool. So Goldberg. Listen, like this guy.
Jeez.
Really? Aaron. Aaron, come on. To say that this guy doesn't bring anything. Just because
has he ever had more of a?
Listen,
has he ever had a 10-minute match at least?
A 10-minute match?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a reason. Come on, like okay,
there sure is a reason.
Listen,
absolutely.
Listen. He's no Brock Lesnar. He doesn't have those technical prowess, but you can't sit there and say that he didn't have an amazing impact on the industry.
Yeah. Whatever.
The entrance, the spear, the jackhammer, all that kind of stuff. The intensity he brought in those matches where he just spearing dudes, like spearing Nunzio in the 2004 Royal Rumble where he just killed him. That wasn't like awesome.
Whoa. I'm gonna get real excited about that. He speared Nunzio? You don't say. Come on, don't start with me now.
Listen, Aaron. I like Goldberg. I like for what he brought to the table.
Give me one Goldberg match that sticks to your mind as a great match.
Visiting Dumdale's page in Halloween Havoc. I can't remember the year. Maybe 1998.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome.
Okay.
I
just can't stand the man. I can't stand him.
You can't.
He's just.
Why?
I've never heard a good thing about him. I mean, I'd love for someone to send me a clip.
So why?
I'd love for someone to send me a clip of saying that Goldberg is a good
worker.
What
you think. It's all about what you think.
He's terrible.
He's terrible. What about his performance in the Elimination Chamber match in 2003, where he just came in and killed everyone? Where he speared Chris Jericho through the plate glass window. And
listen,
awesome.
I can go to WWE and everyone can let me spear the hell out of him. I'll look like $1 million too.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think if I got in there, I'd start spearing people through glass. I think I'd look like a beast too.
Eron the Mastermind Ramadana from WWE. It could happen, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I got a gimmick already.
If you want to find out what Eron's gimmick is, tune in next week, guys. I'm sure we'll have a discussion about it. But in the meantime, that's this week's topic. Is Goldberg overrated, or does he garner unwarranted hatred? That's the question we want to pose to you this week. The way to find the question and way to answer it, we're going to have it up on our Facebook, facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. No apostrophe there. We'll definitely have it up on our Twitter at WrestlingRBreak. And just give us I want to hear what you think. Okay, so that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you so much for listening, wherever you may be out there around the globe. And Eron, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
Well, I hope so too, and I hope you have a great week as well.
All right, thanks very much for listening, and we're going to catch you next week for Wrestling's Rope Break. It's going to be a little bit of a different show. Stay tuned to our Facebook page for updates of when that's going to happen, because we're going to be doing a full rundown of WWE Fastlane. Probably still have another quintessential podcast to break down, a Video Vault visit match to check out. We're going to be doing a full rundown of WWE Fastlane, so definitely stay tuned for that, and that's going to be the show. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Thanks for downloading Wrestling's Rope Break. Want to keep up to date with future episodes of the show? Answer our weekly questions, interact with Joel or Eron, or just go somewhere to discuss good old pro wrestling. It's easy. Start by following us on Twitter at WrestlingRBreak. Then like us on Facebook at facebook.com/WrestlingsRopeBreak. Finally, bookmark and visit our website at www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of 5. We will see you next week.